Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. This channel is dedicated to bringing you scary stories. As always, please like and subscribe. It helps the channel a lot and helps me keep creating this content. Alright, here's the stories. I work at a popular retail store in a mall close to my on-campus apartment. I was home for Christmas break and decided to work Christmas Eve since I was promised time and a half and I could use some money to buy some extra Christmas presents. My childhood home is not very far from my apartment, but is about an hour drive from my work to my childhood home. Our holiday hours were extended this year, and I was given a closing shift for Christmas Eve. The store closed at 10 p.m., and the closing shift ended at 10:30, meaning that I would be getting home around midnight after swinging through a drive to grab something to eat. The closing shift at the store usually had 2 employees and a manager working, but the other employee that was supposed to be close with me was out sick, so it was just me and the manager. While the manager emptied and counted the cash drawers and wrote the daily report, I gathered up all the trash and cardboard and left it by the back door in the stock room. I dusted and vacuumed until the manager was finished with the daily report, and then he put in a combination to disable the alarm and held open the back door for me so I could take out the trash and the cardboard. This was the part that was usually most helpful, to have 2 employees instead of 1, because the dumpster was walled off and the manager had to wait by the door to make sure no one walked into the store. But the dumpster wasn't too far away and I wanted to get home as soon as possible, so I carried all the trash out. Our store shared the dumpster with only 3 other stores, all of which closed either before or after us, so I wasn't expecting to see anyone at the dumpster. I was so startled that I dropped my bags when I saw someone digging through all the trash at the dumpster. He looked at me when he heard the bags fall. "Oh, hi. I dropped my wallet in the trash. Could you help me grab it?" he asked. 1,000 red flags went off in my brain, and I immediately began to back away. No, I don't think I can. I need to take out the trash, and I need to get back to the store," I said, trying to walk towards the store slowly. "Which store do you work at?" he asked. I'm not sure why I told him, but I told him the store I worked at, and he nodded. Oh, nice store. You can just leave the bags here. I'll toss them in when I'm done looking." I went back into the store at that point, a little creeped out, but not suspecting anything else. I told my boss what had happened, and he laughed a little and offered to walk me to my car, as I was parked in the lot behind the store and he was parked in the parking garage attached to the main mall. I declined and I walked to the nearly empty parking lot. There were only 3 cars in the parking lot, including mine. One car was parked so close to the back entrance of a neighboring restaurant, and the other was parked just a few spots away from mine. I couldn't see the person inside the car, but the car was on, and it looked like the person was trying to warm up the car from the inside before scraping the ice off the windshield. I glanced at the car a few times, just to mentally jot down the make and model of the car, a blue Honda Accord, before getting into my own car and locking the doors. I called my parents to let them know that I was just now leaving and I would be stopping to grab dinner on the way home, so not to wait for me. I kept my eyes peeled for the different fast food joints on either side of the highway, but the majority of them were closed as it was 11 p.m. on Christmas Eve. I was getting hungrier and hungrier as I got closer and closer to the exit for my house. I had decided just to scrounge up some leftovers at home as I drove through my town when I saw a subway with blinking lights that said "open late." I peeled into the parking lot of the subway and saw the red LED sign indicating that it was open. I walked to the sandwich shop and I took a look around as it looked pretty empty. I called out to the empty store and I was able to grab the attention of the only person working in the store. "I thought I locked that door. We just closed," he said. "Come on, man, I just got off work and I want to just grab something to eat before I go to bed. I'll be really quick, I promise," I begged him. He sighed, agreed, probably taking pity on how exhausted I looked. We talked for a little bit about working late on Christmas Eve as he made my sandwich before a group of teenage boys walked into the store. "We're closed, guys. I'm just going to lock up the store after I'm done making your sandwich," he said. "But I want a sandwich," one of the boys whined. "Fine." The Subway employee got out from behind the counter and locked the door so no one else would be able to get in, and he could ensure that the teenagers would be his last customers of the night. He finished making my sandwich and left me to pick out my drink and chips at the soda fountain. Most of the boys bought only bags of chips and cookies, so when they were all finished, before I finished filling up my soda, and the Subway employee disappeared into the back, I put the lid onto my cup, and I was looking for a straw when something caught my eye. The man from the dumpster was waiting in the parking lot next to my car. He was sitting on the hood of the car that was parked next to mine. It was the blue Honda Accord. It really started to freak me out at this point. There was no reason for this guy to be in my town, an hour away from the mall, at the exact place I decided to stop if he wasn't following me. And what was he doing on the hood of his car? It was the day before Christmas, and it was snowing and below 30 degrees. "Hey, can you guys walk me to my car?" I asked the group of boys. "Yeah, you all right?" one of the boys asked. "Oh, I'm fine. I just don't want to slip on any ice," I lied. I felt a little silly because there was probably a perfectly good reason for the man from the dumpster to be in the parking lot. Something I didn't have anything to do with me, but I was still nervous. The boys walked me to my car, and I waited until I drove off. The man didn't even look at me as they got into my car. I had about 10 minutes until I got into my house, and I tried to shake the weird feeling I got about the man in the dumpster. It took me a little while to notice, but I realized that there was someone following me. It was hard to see because the car's lights were off, but I noticed the car when I glanced in my rearview mirror as I drove under a street lamp. I started to get nervous again and drove past my house and turned back up the main road, hoping I would lose this guy. This car stayed on my tail, and I watched in the rearview mirror as we went under a streetlight again. It was the blue Honda Accord. I pulled out my phone and called 911 and explained the situation to a dispatcher. The dispatcher advised me to drive to the nearest police station and told me she would inform the police station of what was going on. I stayed on the line with the dispatcher until I pulled into the police station. The Honda Accord drove past the station. There was a police car waiting outside the station that drove after the guy, but ultimately there was nothing they could do besides giving him a ticket for driving with his lights off. My description of the man from the dumpster matched the driver of the Accord. I don't know what he had planned to do with me, but I haven't seen him since, and I told my boss about the incident so I won't have to take out the trash on my own anymore. So to the man who followed me for over an hour on Christmas Eve, let's not meet again. So this happened to me at some point between the cusp of fall and winter last year of 2019. At the time, my husband and I both worked weekend night shift jobs, him at an IT service and me as a CNA in the local hospital's ICU. As we had no reason to be up awake during the day, we lived a rather vampire-like schedule, sleeping all day and staying up all night. 4 days off, 3 12-hour shifts a week. It worked. The best part about being a night dweller is the fact that you can go, or used to be able to go, in the middle of the night to do your grocery store shopping. No lines, no hustle and bustle. You just go at your own leisure and dodge the occasional pallet. Anyways, it's 2 a.m., peak energy time for me and my husband. This Walmart is in a pretty decent part of town, and everything's well lit, so I typically don't feel nervous walking around in the middle of the night. My husband did tours in Iraq and has a good head on his shoulders, so even less reason to be concerned, right? Right. As we walk through the entrance, my eyes immediately drift towards the seasonal section. I have ADD and I'm out of pain to shop with, according to my husband, as I tend to wander off when something neat catches my attention. Unbeknownst to me, my husband notices a small gaggle of young adults behaving rather immaturely, i.e., riding around on the electric handicap carts, intentionally smashing into some of the displays, causing general havoc. Oblivious to this all, I am still wandering around while he patiently follows after me, filling our cart here and there along the way. My husband sees these adult-like kids causing more trouble near the back of the store in the food almost shoes section, but once again, my attention was on more important things like looking for the blind bag toys I have absolutely no need for. We make it to the end of our shopping journey and head towards the self-checkout since they don't bother staffing the actual lanes in the middle of the night. While he scans the bags, I excuse myself to use the restroom and go after a couple of Pokemon on my Pokemon Go game. I dilly-dally long enough that he's checked out and back at the car by the time I come out, so I make my way over to the compact SUV modern-day station wagon we own, where he's busy loading the groceries into the trunk. My husband is very particular about how things are packed, which is fine by me, so we have a system. He loads, I return the cart to the cart holder thing. While I wait for him to finish loading, I hear a bunch of snickering and laughter coming from the car to the right of ours. So the cart and my husband is between me and the other vehicle. I wasn't aware at the time, but these kid-like adults had been sitting in their car the entire time he was unloading our groceries into the trunk, mocking and jeering him for the basic things, like what he's wearing on his shirt and other trivial things. Once I got there, however, all focus turned on me. It took me a second to realize that they were actually addressing us, but soon I could make out what they were saying, so they started making fun of me because of my appearance, and encouraged each other to keep throwing pot shots in our direction, and at the fact that we were together, anything they could think to make fun of us. Being sensitive, self-conscious person that I am, I could already feel my eyes start to water. I figured we would just finish what we were doing and leave them behind in their gloating and foolishness, but my husband wasn't going to have any of it. It was one thing, according to him, for them to mock him, but when they started to be cruel about me, he'd hit his limit. He's a truly non-violent man, but he was so riled up with what they were saying, he balled up his fist, raised his voice, and told them to shut up with a decent smack on their side window, which had been rolled up upon my husband's approach. My knight in shining armor coming to my defense. That action caused a series of quick, chaotic reactions. The young men, 3 of them, started angrily yelling, and I distinctly heard one of them to ask the other if he wanted his gun, to which the ringleader said, "Yeah, give it." Oh my gosh. I tell my husband to get in the car. In a panicked rush, I decide to abandon the shopping cart in front of their car in hopes of creating an obstacle for them. I fling myself into the SUV, and by this point, one young man has started smacking the hood of our car while another steps behind it trying to block us in. I vividly remember, through my blurry vision, seeing a young woman in the backseat of their vehicle, looking somewhat embarrassed as she mouthed, "I'm sorry," in my direction. No time to think about that, not with the ringleader appearing from the car at any moment. My husband puts the car into reverse, and the young man behind us had no choice but to move, lest he become a human pancake. My husband drove off the parking lot like a bat out of heck, and it's clearly evident that my cart obstacle did little delay them, as their Dodge Dart was right on our tail, flying down the road behind us. We made it through one green light before they caught up to us, sliding in the lane next to us as I'm trying to remember to breathe, thoughts going in 100 different directions. I see the passenger window roll down, and out comes a hand with a gun pointed right at my husband's direction. I screamed, actually, something to the effect of them having the gun, though I'm sure it came out as incoherent shrieking, actually. My husband got the point through and chose that moment to swerve directly at them with our vehicle, leaving them no choice but drive into the median or be hit by a bigger vehicle going 70 or 80 miles an hour. They swerved, which slowed them down, so my husband hit the gas and kept driving, ignoring the red lights along the way. Finally, pulling myself together, I dialed 911 on my cell phone, and since the police station wasn't exactly nearby, the operator arranged to have some cops meet us at a local church a mile or two from where we currently were. My husband keeps driving forward, the car still at our heels, and somehow he managed to swerve turn in the middle of the intersection while making it look like we intended to go forward. The other car flies on while we tail it to the cops at the church. They took down our statements at the church and sent a few cop cars out to try to find the dart. I was completely useless when it comes to the details, but my husband came through to save the day and could tell them the exact color of the car and describe the details about the individuals. All I could remember was the face of the girl who mouthed the "I'm sorry," and lo and behold, I kid you not, one of the officers took us to his car, flipped through his fancy police computers, and on the screen pops up the same image of the girl I'd seen in the Walmart parking lot. Another click, and the same young men, save for one, were put on the screen. Apparently, these upstanding citizens had been confronted by the police department only nights prior. I wish I could remember the charges, but my mind was overwhelmed by that point. Most of the details are blurred, like my mind intentionally tried to redact things to protect itself or something. Anyways, needless to say, I've developed genuine anxiety about going into Walmart in the middle of the night after that point. Thankfully, we have both transitioned to day jobs since then, so we share the pain of the daywalker's normal grocery store woes these days. So, jerks at Walmart, let's not meet again, okay? Thank you for listening. As always, please like and subscribe. It helps me out a lot. Have a good night.